Good morning, happy Tuesday. I missed you guys last week. Last week was Thanksgiving and I didn't do a video because we just had a short week. It was only about 2.5 days. And then I relaxed and spent Thanksgiving with my family. So I did have an idea for a video that I was going to do last week, and I was going to just sit down and kind of talk about classroom management and how that works in my classroom, what I believe like the parts of classroom management are, and kind of how I run it and how I work it. So if that is a video you are interested in, let me know down in the comments and I can definitely make a video like that. I find that classroom management is like very personal to each teacher. Everybody kind of has their own little style. So sometimes it's helpful to hear what other teachers are doing. But if that's something you are interested in, let me know and I can make a video for that. For this week's video, I just thought I would do a couple days in the life and kind of share what we are up to now that we're back in the classroom. We have 4 weeks from now, from Thanksgiving break. We don't really have a break. We have like the day before Thanksgiving, we have a half day, and then we have the Friday. So it's a little break, a mini break, I'll take it. But from Thanksgiving break all the way until Christmas break. And we go to school up until the 22nd. So we have that full, because Christmas is on a Monday, so we have that full week before with a half day on Friday. So we have 4 full weeks of instruction. So we're really diving back into it, right? We're really not going to do too much seasonal stuff, at least my plan, until that final week. And we might do like a gingerbread themed week. I'll have to see kind of how it goes. If you want me to, I can try, if I am doing a gingerbread week, I can try to make that video the week before, and at least show you what I'm planning to do, just to give you some ideas if that's something you're interested in. But I do have this video right here, Gingerbread Man activities, that I filmed a while ago. And I'm going to be doing most of the stuff from there. So if you do want some ideas and you get out earlier than I do, go check that out. But yeah, I thought I would show you what we are kind of up to. I do think I shared this already, but I did a redo of this cabinet back here. I got these bins from Lakeshore and I planned them out for each unit in Foundations, which I'm really excited about. So this is unit 1, unit 2 goes all the way to 14 down at the bottom there. And you can see there are some loose books still over here, but basically each of these has the decodables that I will teach along with each unit. So let me just show you, for example. So we are currently in unit 5, which is glued sounds and am. So if I was doing an on-level group with my students during the read aloud time, I would go ahead and grab one of these. This book is The Van. The book that we would use is right here. This is the Moondog series from Phonics books. And then the lesson plan and everything involved with the reading lesson is right here to use. I have shared kind of what this looks like in another video. I'll insert that here. Organizing all these has been a process that I have been doing really for the last like month or so, but I love the way that it has turned out, making it nice and easy for me to just turn around and grab the one I need. Now, some of these, as we get going, like I still need to do, this is unit, where are we at? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Some of these have more books, so I'm waiting to label them because I might end up like combining like these two maybe, and it might be 8 and 9 in one, and then 10. So I don't know, we can see how we do it depending on the books, but I'm waiting until they are all in their folders with all the printables out and ready to go before I go ahead and label. I also just printed out and 3-hole punched Sam's Jam. This is one of our decodable phonics poems that we will add to our fluency folder. Again, this week we're learning about AN and AM as glued sounds. This one will be with AM in particular. So I like to make my poems where they are at least 80% decodable. I do not do 100%. I like to have some, authentic words in there. We have happy, we have mood, and food, which are going to be ones that my students probably cannot decode yet. So I will happily give them those, and that is no problem to me. I just pre-teach those words. And if students get stuck on that word, I simply give it to them. But the rest of the poem is decodable for them based on what they've already learned. So Sam had jam on yams and clams. He had it on big legs of ham. Sam had jam with all his food. Jam put him in a happy mood. And again, these are poems, so I like to make them rhyming. I like to have rhythm and intonation as we read it, and then they can go ahead and color this. We will highlight all of the am words that we see. And then we'll have students practice reading this. We'll read it together. We will echo read it, choral read it, and partner read it. Also, just yesterday, I added an and am to our glued sounds, to our soundboard in the back here. I have shared these cards before. These are free that I made. They do align with Foundations, meaning I chose the same key image that goes with the cards, but I do have them for free. I can link them down below. So far you can see we have gone over all the short vowels, and of course we did all the consonants. We've learned all of these digraphs. We learned the floss rule, and we learned these 3 glued sounds, all, an, and am. And then as we learn them, I add them to the back. We've also learned this spelling rule with C and K and CK. I will take those down when we have more sounds, because the sound wall is going to take over two of these portions of the bulletin board. And then I know I've shared this before, but I always get questions about what is in my fluency folder when I mention we're going to add something to it. So at the beginning of the year, we just had this roll and race where students would quickly name the letters. First, we would do letter name, then they would do it with letter sound, just so we can practice that nice and fast. And then most of us had a lot of blending lines. So this one is for CVC short A words. And then you can see they're set up in a particular way. These are my blending lines. So we have sat, mat, cat, map, tap, cap, dad, pad, where we're changing that initial phoneme, and then we're changing the final phoneme in the second row, and then the middle phoneme, we're just going back and forth between A and E in the third line. Then we move to phrases, and then we move to sentences. And this is obviously our fluency folder, so this is to promote fluency, right? So my student at this point, if they already have this sheet, they should definitely know how to decode these words, and they should be doing it faster. We're working on the automaticity instead of the accuracy here. And then as we get poems, here was Josh's Fish. This was the last poem she got. And they highlight the target skill here. We read it together a few times, and then we read it with partners to kind of work on that fluency. So we'll flip over, open this up, and add Sam's Jam here today. So in phonics today, we're going to continue learning about an and am. That's unit 5 in foundations. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing in writing. We're kind of at this funky point where half of the class has finished, or we used to say published, but we don't really walk through a publishing part right now, but they have finished their first personal narrative that they planned and wrote themselves. So let me kind of walk through what my students do if they are done while others are finishing up, kind of the management of that, as well as what our personal narratives have looked like, or what the unit has looked like since we started it. So I think I shared this in another video, but these are the writing posters that we kind of work through, and we explain that students are going to be at different parts in this cycle as we learn about them and as we continue to work on our narratives. So think of an idea or brainstorming, plan and say. This is where we plan everything out. We explain to students that this is where most of the work is going to happen during that planning stage. And then we take what we have in our plan, we draw and write, we will edit, revise, and then we can share our stories. So when we kicked off personal narratives, we first talked about what a personal narrative is, what it's going to include. We talk about mostly the specific things that I want them to include in their stories, like a personal narrative is a story about ourselves. It's going to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's going to use transition words, and then we will dissect a few model texts, right? We will look into some stories, identify, is this a personal narrative? What happens at the beginning, middle, and end? We'll point out some transition words. And then after we do that for a couple days, we like to do a joint personal narrative. So what that means is we create like a joint experience that we will do. One example is we did a virtual roller coaster in the class. So I found a YouTube link of a roller coaster. We put that on the board. We all sat down and we enjoyed it together. And then we planned out that story. So we said, topic sentence, my classmates and I did a virtual roller coaster in the classroom. First, next, last, we walk through those steps. And again, this is on our planning sheet where we mostly are doing drawing. I do allow students to write if they are there yet, but I like to promote that drawing, that quick sketching first. I've shared this before with my say and sketch sheets. It looks like that right there. And then we do a closing sentence, like how did we feel? Do we hope it would happen again? Just kind of wrapping it up with a bow. During that time when we're planning it out, I am actually planning it on the whiteboard. I am writing it all in, and then I give students their own planning sheet where they go ahead and do the same thing. Now, some of my students just copy off what I wrote, because again, this is a joint one, but others add their own little flair to it. Maybe they add a different closing sentence. Maybe their sketches are slightly different based on their experience, and I definitely promote that and I encourage that for students. But it's okay if they are just copying mine too, because we're walking through this process. And then we take our planning sheet and we go ahead and write. I show them how to stretch that story over the pages, how we say each part of our planning sheet, and then we go ahead and write down a sentence for each one. Then we walk through editing that using the CUPS checklist. This is the one I always use that my students are very familiar with. And then that's kind of the end of our first personal narrative that we did together. Then I like to do another one together. So we do another joint experience, again, a walk through that same process. Now we are at the stage where my students have planned and brainstormed their very own personal narrative. So I've shared this before, but the first thing we did is we came up with different ideas of personal narratives that we could write about from our own lives. And I did this with the SJT writing club lessons. So I just followed like the personal narratives unit in there. If you remember, you know what I'm talking about. It has like 10 to 12 lessons that walks through each step and each process of how I would teach this. So that is what we did. Also, quick side note, if you are an SJT Writing Club member, there's a lot of revamps that are coming to these lessons that I'm so excited about, including teaching slides that I will be adding. So more to come on that later. So this is where my students are really walking through that whole writing process on their own. They brainstormed ideas, they chose one that they liked, and then they went ahead and planned it using our say and sketch sheet. They took that say and sketch sheet and spread it out over 3 different pages of their book. We also added another page that's our topic sentence page, and we added it right to the front of our book. And then we went through our publishing checklist. So let me show you an example of a student's work. I know I've shared this before with another student, but here is what we did. So this student chose one of their soccer games to write about. And again, they would say it and sketch it. So first, here's the sketch of what happened. Then another sketch. Finally, woo, I can see that they're cheering. And then we took this say and sketch sheet and we spread it over 3 pages. So I'm gonna ignore this page and I'll come back to this and tell you. But here's page 1. First, I did warm-ups. I did jumping jacks. Then I scored a goal. I felt happy. Finally, my mom and dad cheered on for me. Woohoo, go blank. This is her student's name. And I don't know why she wrote in crayon here, but that's okay. So those were the 3 parts of the story that we took directly from here, where we sketched it first and then we said it out loud and added it to each page. Then I had my students, after we went ahead and expressed all 3 ideas, we made our topic page, which is where we're going to share who was in the story, what we did, and where it happened. So the setting, the characters, and what was going on. So me and my mom and my dad and my sisters were at my soccer game, and it was at the soccer field. So she wrote it down here. And I think this is a very good example of kind of like average writing in 1st grade at this time of the year. We've been in school for about 50 days. In that first couple months, we just focused in on sentences. So this is kind of where we are at. And then we drew a picture. And like I said, we just stapled this right to the front. So this student had this work. And then yesterday, we got our publishing checklist. So this is where students have to go through and make sure all their work is ready to go and kind of show some self-sufficiency here in seeing if they're ready. Is this a personal story about something that happened to me? Yes. Is it focused on a small moment? Yes. Does it have a beginning, middle, and end? Yes. Did I use transition words? Yes. Did I add character, dialogue, thoughts, feelings, or actions? And this is something I explicitly taught. You can tell that the student said, I felt happy. So I scored a goal. So she went and she's like, I have a feeling I can add here. I felt happy. She also said her mom and dad cheered her on and they said, woohoo, go blank, again, her name. So they added some dialogue and they added some feelings in here, which is great. Did I go through my editing checklist? Now this is one I have in the club, but I showed you we use cups. And then do I have colorful illustrations? And is my handwriting the neatest I can make it? I would say some of this was a little sloppy, but not too bad. And again, I really want students to be able to go through this themselves to see if theirs is ready. Now, since that student was done, like I said, about half my class already finished theirs. And then again, this is their first time walking through that process completely on their own. Of course, I'm like modeling each step along the way and saying, this is what you're going to do. But this is a part where they aren't doing it shared. They're not doing it with me. It's not something we've done together. They are watching me model how to do it with my own writing piece, and then they go apply it to theirs. So it's a really great jump. I am very proud of the students that have finished so far. They've done a great job. So when they finish, since we have Seesaw, I have them open up Seesaw and they add a video to their journal where they go ahead and take their story. It's so cute. I die watching them. And they just sit down and they have it facing them and they read this. Like I tell them that they're, sharing it with their parents. They're sharing it with the people that are watching at home. So they go ahead and read it and then they show the picture and they do that with each page. It's adorable. I'm obsessed. But then also it's a great way for parents to kind of see what we've been working on. And I explain a little bit and a little comment saying this is their first time walking through the personal narrative process. This is their first one that they have gone ahead and published and they wanted to share it with you. And it's adorable. But in the meantime, since I still have about 6 or 7 students today that need to finish up. They're at the very end. Some of them are already ready to go ahead and do their video. Others are still just working through that checklist real quick. And for managing that, what I like to do is instead of starting another personal narrative, I want students writing in a different way. So I have been using my December, I've been using my November ones, but now I'm doing December, my December mini writing units. This is this over on TPT. And I will have them watch one of those videos or read one of those books, listen to it on YouTube with a link. And then they go ahead and respond with writing as we're going. So let me show you what they did yesterday. So when that student was done, she went over and got her shopping list. We talked about how Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, which was, just a few days ago, and how on Black Friday there's a lot of deals. So we're going to make a shopping list for our family. So she said, my baby sister wants Play-Doh, and she drew some Play-Doh. My big sister wants slime. Now I told them they could just write Play-Doh, slime. They just have to tell me what it's for. My mom wants, I don't know what this is yet, so we'll have to see when she does her picture, and then they can color this in. So I forget what story they read yesterday, but it went along with that unit. And then I have students kind of do this on their own as other students are finishing up their stories. So everyone is still writing during this time. This is much more independent, so I can really work with the students that are still going through this checklist and see what they might need. And it keeps us mostly independent. And the reason I'm not having them start a new personal narrative is because I kind of want to catch us all up, because what we're going to do next is after we've planned and published our own personal narratives, which most of my students have already done, we are going to do another joint experience. And this time we're going to do the joint experience together, but they are going to plan and write about it themselves. So they are going to do more personal narrative writing, but instead of choosing their own topic, we're going to do another group one. And then instead of watching me do it, I'm going to see how they can do that independently. And then I'll work, of course, with a small group for those that need that extra support. So over the last month or so, we've kind of just been slowly releasing that independence for them, where we were doing everything together. They could just copy me. This was giving them a full walkthrough of this process as I modeled each way with my own writing. And now again, we're going to go back to a planned experience together and then see how they do planning and writing it on their own. And just like that, I spilled crayons everywhere. So I think that is my cue to get going for the day and start cleaning up and getting ready. So I will check in with you either later today or tomorrow and let you know what we're up to. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I'm trying to look around, see what I have to do. I already changed out my specials magnet. I changed out the date magnet. So, and I already looked over my slides yesterday. I'm feeling very ahead of the game here this week. Yesterday, I know we talked a lot about writing, and at the end of the day, I was able to have all my students who hadn't yet, they all recorded them reading their stories on Seesaw. I think I told you, but it's so cute. I love watching them do that. And again, that was their first time really getting to plan it out themselves. So at the end of the writing block, and I don't remember if I said this yesterday, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but at the end of the writing block, we took a school-wide walk. So we just kind of snuck around the school, and I told them to use their senses, so use their eyes and their ears and their sense of smell to see what's going on around the school at this time. Who do we see in their classes? What kids are at specials? What do we see on the walls? And that was another joint experience that we did. And then today during writing, we are going to have students go plan that out themselves. And then tomorrow's already Thursday, oh my God. And then tomorrow they will go ahead and write it. So today we're gonna plan, tomorrow they're gonna write. But in math, I wanted to share just a quick little activity that we did. This is called Mix and Match. So we introduced numbers to 20. So, actually I need to print out posters, I only have them up to 10 right now. I'm going to do that after this. But we introduced the numbers, those teen numbers, so 11 to 20. That's how Math and Focus works. It kind of starts with numbers 1 through 10, and then addition within 10 and subtraction within 10. Then we went to shapes, and now we are at those teen numbers. So with these teen numbers, what I did is after we introduced it with some 20 frames, I had them fill up 10 and 3 more. What is that number? 10 plus 3 is 13. And then I had them clear their boards and do 8 plus 5. 8 and 5. Oh, that's also 13. And then they moved the cubes from the bottom to make it, like to fill in that 10 frame to see that 8 and 5 is the same as 10 and 3, which is the same as 13. So we did a bunch of that hands-on practice. And then at the end, their like kind of exit ticket to go to specials is I made a little mix and match game. So we have 10 plus 6, we have 12, we have all of these for the teen numbers, and every student got one, and they had to silently mix around the room and find their match. So if they had 10 plus 1, they needed to find the person that had 11, and then they would give them a high five and go to the edge of the room. That way anybody still looking for their partner was kind of walking around the middle of the room. I literally did this while they were doing the hands-on activity. I grabbed some index cards and a marker and just made these as we go. And I'm going to use them again today. I'm going to kick off our lesson this way. Yesterday, we only had time to do one mix and match. I usually like to have them find their partner. Yesterday, since it was the first time, we each went around and shared who our partner was and how we knew that they were the partner. 10 plus 2 equals 12. But today, we're going to practice a couple times. So they'll mix and match, find their partners quickly, pass the cards back to me, shuffle, get a new partner, and so on. That's how we will kick off our math lesson. I'd also made these forever ago to go along with those ones up there. We only have 1 through 10. I've said this before, but I don't like to put anything on the walls as like an anchor chart until we've actually learned it. So right now we only have 1 through 10. So I'm going to print out the 11 through 20, get those laminated, and put those up on the wall today too. It will be so nice when next year all this stuff is already laminated for me and I don't have to start from scratch. All right, well, those laminate. Let's see what else we are up to for today. All right, it is Wednesday. For our morning meeting activity, it's Would You Rather Wednesday. So would you rather listen to people whisper or yell all day? Definitely whisper. Would you rather wear a pirate eye patch or a clown nose all day? And then we are doing Haggerty. Phonics, we are still reviewing our glued sounds, so all, an, and am. Then we will review some of our heart words. Our new ones that we learned were from and have. We will do some dictation, and then I'm gonna have students play this read and color game. It's just a decoding game. And this one in particular has, of course, all glued sounds there. Particularly this one has am and an. There aren't all words in here yet. Because we did that one previously. So this one is just an and am, and we will try to find them with a partner. After snack and recess, we are reading Stick and Stone, a cute little book about friendship. I love this one. And we're gonna discuss the story elements. So their independent work that they will do after is to create a little story map for Stick and Stone. And then in Seesaw, we have these are decodable sentence builders or sentence scrambles. So they're already in Seesaw. These ones are for the floss rule that we already learned about. So each one just has a little picture. They have to figure out what the words are and put them in order. So this one is Jill likes to toss the ball, and then they will use the microphone feature and go ahead and read it. So there's 10 slides of those. So that is what I'm up to in phonics and in reading today. I need to keep running back and forth to get these laminated, but in the meantime, I've got about 10 minutes until the kids come. So I need to go to the bathroom, fix this hair, and get ready for the day. So I will check in with you later. Bye. Good morning, happy Thursday. I was checking up there because I didn't know if I already changed my date, so I need to change that to Thursday. I actually sound okay. I've been listening to myself, but I feel like crap. I definitely have a cold. It's been 61 days and I've kind of avoided sickness, but now here we are at the end of November and definitely all congested, don't feel great. But it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, so we are powering through. I'm all hopped up on Advil, ready to go. So that'll be fine. This morning, today will be my last kind of check-in with you and share what I'm up to today. I shared a little bit yesterday, and then I think I talked a lot on Tuesday. So I will kind of just pop in, mostly nothing crazy we're doing today. But but I do want to add 2 things to my phonemic awareness and phonics block. So for Heggerty, I have something I want to add, and for phonics, I have my What's the Rule slides we're going to introduce as a warm-up, which I am so excited about. I love these. We've done a couple before, just kind of scattered throughout, but now that my students we're getting into it, I want to start every block with some sort of quick little phonics warm-up. So I will show you what those are. Okay, so most of you already know that we use Heggerty for our phonemic awareness instruction, and Heggerty is great as a starting point. It's way better than having, nothing. And we do have the updated version of Heggerty, which kind of moved much quicker into phonemic awareness instead of spending all this time on phonological awareness. I know they're under the same umbrella, but what I mean is like those rhyming patterns, compound words, things like that don't mean as much when it comes to reading. With reading, we want really students blending, segmenting, isolating the initial phoneme, isolating medial phonemes. Like that part of phonemic awareness is the most researched in terms of teaching students how to read. So while I love it as a starting point, I do feel like, we focus on like 8 skills during 10 minutes, when if we really just focused on some of those more important skills for a bit longer, I think it might be a little more beneficial. That's just my take. But that's not just my take. I also just watched a podcast yesterday where they kind of confirmed that. Anywho, where am I going with this? Oh, we just dove into segmenting phonemes with 4 or more sounds. My students actually did a great job when we are segmenting phonemes with 3 sounds, tapping. But now that we're getting to those initial blends and they really have to separate those first 2, they're having a little bit of trouble. So this is where I'm going to provide a visual. These are, of course, something super common I would do in all of my small groups. We use some sort of cube, some sort of little pop-it, something for them to really physically see the sounds. But since this is whole group, I wanted just a quick and easy visual. So I just got some construction paper and I'm going to laminate it. And I'm going to make 2 circles for each because I want, I have an aide that does Heggerty at the same time as me in my classroom. So every day I pull like 3 or 4 kids and they come to the back to do it in a smaller setting instead of with everybody, because sometimes they can get a little bit lost. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna laminate these, I'm gonna make some circles, and that way when we actually segment it, I'm going to turn to the board, the little easel over there, and I'll put them on there, and I will move up the sounds as we do it. So I'm hoping this visual will kind of just help them recognize the sounds instead of just the tapping, and they can do the tapping along with the visual. So that's what I'm gonna prep right now. And voila, the finished product. Easy enough. I just moved my things over here. The problem, I've said this so many times, but we don't have any like big storage places like that. I can't like store these anywhere. So right now I'm just gonna put the pads there while we're using this, and then I can just throw them over if I need. So this is how it's gonna work. And then I laminated them, of course, too, so I can, if my students are really struggling, let's say the word is like swish, so we'll go s-w-ish. And if I can see that they're still not getting it, I can also use a whiteboard marker and write the letters on here too to connect that grapheme to the phoneme, just to give them a little more. But I'm gonna start it today and kind of see how it goes. Okay, the other thing I told you I was adding was to our phonics warm-up, and we are going to do, which I'm so excited about, our What's the Rule slides. So we did a couple of these, and everything on the thumbs up side was a letter sound, or a sound rather, that they had to know. And so what I want students to realize here is I display the side, and then they have to figure out what is the rule. So everything on the thumbs up has to be the same in this way. And if it's the rule, that means nothing on the thumbs down has that. So for this, we have, and I always read it out loud, chip, chair, chimney, cheese, lunch, church. And they'll hopefully recognize that we hear that ch sound. And then once they get it and they give me a thumbs up, and then I ask a few people, see what they got, then we say, okay, we have to check this side just to make sure. Whistle, thumb, shirt, whale, throne, fish. Okay, none of those have that ch CH sound. So yes, you are correct. That is the rule. I also love this as a great way to just spiral some quick review skills. Like we've already gone over digraphs, but I still want them to recognize it, hear it, and keep that going. And as you can see, it really only takes a couple minutes. And then in phonics, we are still reviewing our glued sounds. So we have all, an, and am. And then we are reviewing our sight words. We have 2 new ones that we're learning, or our heart words rather. Do and does. We'll add those to the word wall today, talk about what those look like, what the heart parts are, and how they are spelled. And then we, of course, read some sentences with them. Do you like candy? We'll practice some fluency with that. Does Maria like candy? And then we will do some dictation. And then after that, I want them to do, this is from yesterday, I didn't have them do it yet. I want them to do this activity independently, where we just have the visual discrimination. I've shared these before, but this one, if I can get it out, is for glued sounds. So what I love about these is they really have to look at every single letter in the word and every sound to determine if it's correct. So jam, Jan, they can't just guess, right? They have to look through the whole word. Pam, pan, van, van, and so on. So they will do this independently, color in the correct spelling, and then they will color in the pictures to match at the very end of phonics today. All right, those are really the only 2 things I wanted to share with you today, just so you can see what we're up to, see what we're up to new. But I kind of talked about writing a little bit, I think, on Tuesday. Yesterday, I think I talked about math, and today I talked about phonics, I think. I don't know, but I just wanted to share a little bit about what I was up to this week. So as always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them for you or make a specific video about it. I do want to let you know too that next week I have my second observation, and it's going to be during Heggerty and Foundations time. So I'm still doing Heggerty and Foundations, but I'm going to add a little twist to it to keep it exciting and fun when my principal is here. So next week I will go over that with you too. I'll talk about the pre-observation, what we talked about, as well as what the lesson will actually look like. And of course, if I have any freebies, I will share them with you. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.